Something happened to me when I was a little kid. I saw Elvis Presley on television. I saw Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, and these guys kind of stirred a fire in me, and there was an intrigue that I could never forget, you know? And then, of course, when the Beatles came along, and the Stones, and the Who, and the Kinks, to me, that was raw expression. It was like sex, it was smart, it was fun, it was funny, it was camaraderie, it was, you know, immediate expression. And to me, there's just sort of nothing else like it. I mean, there's a painting that you do alone and you do it very slowly, but there's nothing like the immediacy of playing rock and roll with some guys up on a stage. You know, there's nothing like it. And I didn't come up with a separate plan, so I'm just glad it's working out. I got my first major break with Etta James as her guitar player and musical director when I was 19 years old, right? And within a year of my getting with her, I was in Montreux, Switzerland at the Montreux Jazz Festival playing with her, directing her band. Just she and I and her husband flew over there, and the bass player is John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. And I'm like 19 years old going like, you know, I couldn't believe it. So hanging out with those guys at a very early age, it just gave me the feeling that I was in the right place doing the right thing, and this was maybe my calling, you know. Plenty of time to doubt it through the years, but I just stuck with it, man, and I just said yes to opportunities, and I did stuff that scared me, you know. And to all of the kids that are out there that are looking to get into music or stay in music, you just got to do the stuff that scares you. You got to do the stuff that you think may be beneath you, or the things that you might think are just a little bit too challenging for you. You got to say yes to it all and risk embarrassment, risk failure, and take risks. I've done some solo records, and I was getting ready to start writing what would have been my third solo album, and I came to one of my favorite writers, a guy named Oliver Lieber, and said, "You want to start writing some new songs for another record?" He said, "Well, why don't we just do a band?" And I said, okay. We came up with a name, the Bayonets. When Oliver and I started talking about what is this thing going to be, because my solo stuff was sort of vintagey rock, and then it was a real modern rock record. So this third one, what were we going to do as the Bayonets? What would make this different? I started to think in terms of like a storyboard. I said, Oliver, okay, we're going to do like a bulletin board, like a cork board, and put up photos of our favorite cats. And it's going to be like, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis. It's going to be Jimmy Dean. It's going to be, you know, Dwayne Eddy. It's going to be, you know, Little Richard. And if whatever we do doesn't fit one of those faces musically, then it's out. It's got to be tough. It's got to be mean. And it's got to be a little bit old school, like before British invasion. You know, the kind of music that maybe the guys in those bands in England, maybe the records they were listening to before they came out. So it's like Dwayne Eddy, Link Wray, a little bit more sort of the roots of 60s rock. So then we wrote a song that very first day, and I think it was Sucker for Love. And then we wrote one called Smartphone, and before you knew it, we had 5 songs, and we recorded those 5 songs, and it caught on, you know. 2 years ago, we put out our first single, and little Steven Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen's band and from Underground Garage fame found this song. He went nuts for it. He found it on Twitter. His wife played it for him. And we get a message from him the next day saying, I love this song. Who are you guys? Where is some more of this? I'm doing a radio edit. You're going to be featured as the coolest song in the world. Give me some more. And we were like, whoa, when does this ever happen? Yeah, you know, so the Bayonets has been a really fun project. 2 years working one album. How often do you get to do that? My first night with Paul McCartney, you know, 13 years ago, playing in Oakland for our first show, it was magic to me, you know, it was a magical night. As a kid, I was there sitting on the floor in front of the TV when the Beatles arrived on Ed Sullivan in February of '64, and, you know, my mind was blown. And I knew they were coming because I'd heard them on the radio, so I knew what we were in for. It was life-changing for me. What I saw there was something I hadn't seen before. You'd seen solo artists, people like, you know, Elvis, or Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis rocking out. But you never saw 4 guys that looked like they were the same age, from the same town, with the same jokes. Like, I want to be in that club, you know? And there was just a sort of feeling somewhere inside of me. I felt like, that's attainable. You can do that. They did it. Maybe I could do it. Of course, you'd never admit out loud, one day, I bet I could play with Paul McCartney. You would never say that. You'd get kicked out of school. You'd get beat up. But, that's basically what happened. I kept saying yes to opportunities and worked on my craft and worked on my dream. And I ended up playing with Paul McCartney. The first day of rehearsal that he joined us was a pretty big moment for me. I mean, I think the first song we played together was Hello, Goodbye. We had played it as a four-piece band before he arrived, so we were kind of familiar with it. We'd gone over sort of 45 songs and had a familiarity with all of those songs before he came in. The day he came in, it's just like, wow, we're gonna do it. We counted off, and here we go. And that voice starts coming out of that monitor, and that guy standing beside me. And it was a giant thrill for me. Basically, for the first tour, I didn't look up because I didn't want to screw up, But obviously, a huge privilege and an honor for me as a musician to be able to work with Paul.